All right, everyone. Thanks for joining our business and law slash pre-law information session here. I know a lot of you are busy, that you might be in class. This might be projected onto your computer. So I'm going to quickly rush through this here just to make sure you guys have enough time to be able to get back to where you need to go. There's a lot to talk about here. So we're just going to jump right into it. If you do have a question, you can type it into the Q&A or message me privately. So what we're going to be talking about today is why students choose the program. What are some employment opportunities? What's there to know about the first year and about the future years of the program? What are some common hurdles? What's some tips to success? What's some common trends that are emerging from students who are entering or exiting these programs? We're going to be looking at stuff like tuition, prerequisites, deadlines, details, and so on and so forth. There's a lot to talk about with these two programs. So like I said, I'm just going to jump right on into it. So first off, I'll talk about myself. My name is Matthew Washkowski. I am part of the student services team at St. Peter's College, along with Crystal Shutko. We work with students to begin their USAS degree, and as such, we do work with USAS regularly to ensure you are transitioning properly and that you are set up for success. So St. Peter's College is an affiliate of the University of Saskatchewan, but I just want to clarify that I'm not an official representative of the Edwards School of Business or with the College of Law at the University of Saskatchewan. We advise a lot of students going into these programs, so we're well aware of what you need to know about that. But just so you're aware with that, if you do have a question, odds are I could probably help you out. Students going to St. Peter's College or the University of Saskatchewan are welcome to talk to Crystal or myself about the next steps, whether you're coming here or not. So starting off, we're going to talk about commerce. So commerce has 6 majors. Why students are going to usually pick commerce with the Edwards School of Business? There's opportunities for hands-on learning. There is a co-op program, a paid co-op program. You can branch off into other programs. There's a combined degree program, so you can get a commerce degree and a law degree, or a commerce degree and an agriculture degree, or a commerce degree and an arts and science degree. 90% of graduates were employed in their field within 6 months of graduation after exiting the university here. And you do get time to consider your major as well. So I'll talk about majors in just a quick second here. So going on to the common careers here. I'll talk about law right after this. There's a bunch of them. Again, these are just some common careers. Something to really be aware of is that a lot of the times in university, going to study this does not, it's not a linear path to a certain type of career. There are some exceptions, of course, like studying accountant, of course, you can become an accountant. Studying nursing, of course, you can become a nurse. Studying education, of course, you can become a teacher. But what university is especially good at is teaching you a variety of skills that you can then utilize to sell yourself and to really plan your educational and career experiences. So I will give you a chance to just read these through. There's a lot here. If you're watching this on YouTube later, just pause the video and whatnot. These are just some common examples that were provided to me by the Edwards School of Business. So there's quite a bit here. But at the end of the day, some of the common themes around this are working with people, being able to really look at like data and analyze stuff, coming to conclusions, thinking things logically. Those are really some of the big common skills that all of these have. It's developing a plan with other people and following through with it. So with the paid internship programs, jobs are very much available. So going into law here, why do students choose to study law at the University of Saskatchewan? You can't actually study law itself at St. Peter's College. You can just get pre-law done here. So biggest reason why is, well, for starters, it's the only law college in the entire province. So you don't have much of a choice there if you want to study Saskatchewan law, but you do get clinical law experience. There are exchange programs with international exchange programs. So, travel is always a good thing. I'm quite biased in that. I like traveling. There's a program called Access to Justice. That is a class where that's a really practical component, I guess. Like you're actually going out into the field, working with a lawyer, and shadowing them. There's a Saskatchewan Law Review. There's that's a publication that you can actually promote your research into. There's something called Mootin, and then, like I said, there's combined degrees here. You can do law and business. You can do a law and an arts and science degree, or you can do a law, which is the JD, and a master's and an MBA, so Masters of Business Administration. Common jobs, of course, you can, oops, you can practice law. There are private firms. You can practice law with the government. You can go with a legal aid clinic. There's corporations. That said, again, university, you get a variety of skills. You get networking. You get to really makeshift your own education and career. So there is, policy advising, international relations. You can work in real estate, counseling, mediation and arbitration, and journalism, and a whole bunch more. Again, you're a professional. You're a trained professional. You'll pursue your passions. Absolutely. We really recommend that. You'll have lots of opportunities to do that while you're studying it, and even before when you're a pre-law student. So what should you know about your first year? Some of this information's, I'm not going to be talking about like your first year of law school. Again, that's in the future here. Let's talk about your first year of university, both as an Edwards student or if you're a pre-law student, or both. Maybe you're studying Edwards to go into pre-law or to go into law school. So with Edwards specifically, your first year is foundational elements. Like I said, you have time to consider your major. I'm going to talk about that here in the next couple slides, but you'll have time to consider your major. You can transfer into Edwards if you're studying a different program. That's common. But essentially, your first 2 years here are sample platter, and then you will end up deciding your major for what you're going to study and specialize in year 3. There is the Edwards Business Student Society. That's a really great thing to go into. They have 12 different student groups, actually. They have done some revamps here of the Edwards program. So the first 3 years now are a little bit different, but rest assured, you can still start your commerce studies with St. Peter's College. We do support, everything that you need along with Edwards. So we'll be able to make sure that you're able to leave here on track. Something I really want to point out here, is that Edward students need, at the end of your first year, a 60% average. You need a 60% average, or you may face some type of academic penalties here, some type of probation or request to discontinue. So it's very important that right from the get-go, you make sure your grades are up and running. It's a pretty strict requirement for first year students. So you really want to make sure that you are up and running right when you hit the ground running here. For pre-law, something I see a lot, not just with law, but like any type of medicine, dentistry, nursing, etc. Like anything that's a non-direct entry program. We typically see, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be the one who gets there earliest. You probably won't. What's your plan B? It's great that you have an end goal, but what's your plan B? Most students do not get in after the 2 years of pre-law studies. Most students even choose to wait until they have a degree. They often do this because they will be better equipped to do well on the LSAT test, the law school admissions test. I'll talk about that soon here in just a little bit. So again, I'd really recommend have a plan B here, because first off, you might not get in right off the bat. So you'll probably more likely to get in with a degree anyways, because you'll just be better equipped and more skilled. But honestly, you may, by the end of like your 3rd or 4th year, you might just be, I don't want to go to school for a bit. So it's good to have that plan B here. Don't, there's that end goal in mind, but you have to think about those stepping stones in between. So focus on one step at a time. Get through your first year of university, then start making these big plans. If you can get through your first year successfully, you'll be good to go. I do recommend preparing for the LSAT early. Talk about that a little bit later here. Actually, I might as well just talk about it now. The LSAT is primarily reading comprehension. It has a couple other variables, but it's primarily reading comprehension. So that's why a lot of people choose to wait until they have a degree or at the end of the degree, because if you have that extra skill set, you are more experienced, you are able to read information, understand it quicker, and develop an argument or logically think about it quicker. So it's a skills test and a speed test. It's not like the MCAT, the medical school admissions test. It's not something like that. It's not a knowledge test. It is very much a skills test. I really want to make that distinction for you here. I do recommend that people who are interested in law do connect with other students who are, following that same pathway. There is a pre-law student society with the University of Saskatchewan, and we always have some type of a pre-law student at St. Peter's College. So going on to years 2, 3, and 4, specifically of Edwards. Like I said, I'm not going to dive too deep into the law program just because, again, that's later down the road for you. But with Edwards, your first year is your foundational elements. Then your year 2 is the functional areas of business. So you get that sample platter. You get a sample platter in your first 2 years. And then midway through your second year, you decide your major for year 3. So you will decide your major for year 3 somewhere in the middle of year 2. So if you're not sure which one you want to do, don't worry about it. You will know quite well what you want to do as you get through your first few classes here. You'll take a little bit of everything. There are 12 Edwards student clubs, and there's also a co-op program, which I'll talk about soon. So Edwards has 6 different majors that you can go into: finance, accountant, management, marketing, operations management, and human resources. There's also a combination of degrees. Like I said, you can do business law, you can do business arts and science, you can do business and agriculture. Um, so going on to these majors, there are different requirements to get into all of them. Primarily, it's based on the number of seats available and the cutoff averages. Of course, we don't know the cutoff averages for next year. I'm assuming you're in grade 12. I guess that wouldn't even matter for you, but we don't know the cutoff averages for next year. But I do have the last couple years worth of data for you. Something I really want to point out here is you see that there's 6 majors here, right? There's 6 majors here. I only have 5 listed here. Why is that? Well, management. Management is not restricted in the quota or the averages. So as long as you're in good academic standing, you can get into management. Elsewise, though, the rest of these are somewhat competitive. So going into the data here, what you see here is the quota. These are the quotas. These do change every year. I'm going to go back 1 second. I know you want to look at this. For accounting and finance, it was 160 and 120 respectively. That's what's going to be like for next year. But in the last couple of years, it's been 140 and 100. So it does change a little bit. But at the end of the day, the cutoff doesn't necessarily change. It typically, for accounting, which is the most competitive, hovers around a 74 or 75%. Finance is typically around a 70%. And then you can kind of see some of the last cutoff averages there. Of note, 2020, you're going to notice that some of those are, a little bit smaller, especially accounting and finance, which are the 2 most popular. Biggest reason for that is, well, I'm going to guess COVID. I think that one's simple enough. Like I'm pretty sure COVID has affected everyone dramatically. So, like I said, how it works is somewhere through your second year, you apply, you select which one you want. What's your first choice? What's your second choice? What's your third choice? And then it's based entirely on your grades. The higher grade you have, the more likely you are to get in. So just be aware about that. Your grades do matter in your first and second year. Of course they do. Going into this co-op here, great opportunity. So the average salary for people who do this program is between $17 and $21 an hour, and you also get benefits. The benefits do vary by company. You get vacation days and stuff like that. But if you do the math on that, this program, if you can do it 4 months, you start off with 4 months and you do 525 hours of work. So 525, let's say times $19, you're at $10,000. So $10,000 in 15 weeks. Congratulations, you just paid for your year of education and then some. And then you can also extend that by another 4 months. So in total, you can make up to $20,000 with this. It's a really good program because if you're able to get through the eligibility process, basically you go through an interview, make sure you're in good academic standing, et cetera, et cetera. If they admit you, then they start the process of, building you up, making you more desirable for companies and helping you find that job. So if you're admitted, you will go through career development workshops. There's networking events. There will be exclusive job postings specifically for Edwards students. They work with local places in the community and the province to find job postings for you. And then you will, of course, attend those job interviews. If an employer does decide to take you on, you will be employed in a full-time paid business relation position. It is a full-time job. You work on average 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. You will have feedback and evaluations from both the business and from a support team from the Edwards School of Business. So if there's any problems, they'll be able to help you address those. And if you're performing quite well, you'll have a really big resume booster there. Of course, something really good to know about this is that most of the students do end up getting a job once they're finished. Most of them are offered an employment opportunity once they do graduate. So they'll, finish this up they'll finish up their 3rd year and 4th year, and then they'll have a job waiting for them. So it's a really good option. I mean, you hear it in the trades, you hear it in university. If it's a paid internship, especially, like, take it. That hands-on experience is massive. Like I said, especially if it's paid. So going on to law, and specifically the law admissions. So something to know about is you need at least 2 full years, so 60 credit units of university. Once you are admitted, it's a 3-year program. So you will not finish it less than 5 years. It's not possible. Most people don't end up getting in until year 3 or year 4 or beyond that. There's no recommended pre-law program. Going back to what I said before, what's your plan B? Take what you're interested in, take your plan B. You will need a LSAT test, LSAT test, law school admissions test, and you will have a personal statement here. So like I said, the LSAT looks at reading comprehension, analytic reasoning, and logical reasoning skills. Basically, can you read the information quickly? Can you understand it and process it? Can you develop logical conclusions and answers from that information? It is, like I said, it is both a speed and a skills test. So there's on average around 1,000 applicants. I'm not sure how many of those are domestic, i.e. so Saskatchewan, how many of those are out of province, how many of those are international students, for 126 spots. So for the admissions last year, the average, what they're gonna look at here for your admissions, they're gonna look at your highest LSAT score in the last 5 years. So if, for example, if you're looking to get into law school in 2022, any LSAT you took within the last 5 years, so from 2017 onwards, will count. So you can take the LSAT multiple times. That is fine. There's not really any consequences in doing that other than, you pay a couple dollars to take that test. They will take your best 2 years of university. So if your first year and your third year were the best, they'll take those. It does not have to be consecutive. The only restriction there is that you have to have at least 2 years, of course, and you have to have at least 24 credit units within those. Spring and summer classes do not count in here, just so you're aware. So it has to be fall and winter. Of the people who were admitted last year, those 126 seats, the average score, your average was 78%, which realistically speaking is not that high. That is very much doable. A lot of these non-direct entry programs typically have much higher averages. So that's something good to know. The LSAT score here, that one averaged at 158. So, as you prep for these LSATs, you'll kind of see where you stand with that. It's possible to improve your score, of course, with the more practice you get. But like I said, it's not a knowledge test. It is very much a skills-based test. So to do better on this, you need to understand the exam better and you need to improve your skill set. So in terms of preparing for this, there's lots of good and bad prep materials available. There's no officially recommended ones. So, do your due diligence and research that appropriately. A lot of advice that I've seen is, regularly read challenging materials. Like I said, a lot of it is based on reading comprehension and being able to analyze and develop arguments from that information. So the more you practice that, the better you're going to be. And like I said, involve yourself with other pre-law or current law students. You guys will help each other out for sure, guys and girls. Go down to the admission requirements here. This is not for law school. This is for Edwards, what you see on here. You need pre-calc 30 or foundations 30. I recommend pre-calc 30. If you can take calc 30, even better. It's very much helpful. I would almost say that pre-calc 30 is the minimum requirement. But if you can get calc 30, that's fantastic. There's no early admissions, but there is a regular admissions average. You need 75% or better, and you must apply by May 1st. Going on to tuition here. I see I'm running close on time here, so I'll run really quick. Going on to tuition, St. Peter's College's tuition is very similar to University of Saskatchewan's. I don't have law school's admissions on here or tuition on here because, like I said, one step at a time. So that's the average one. This assumes you're taking 30 credit units. So, a full load of classes in both the fall and the winter. Our tuition is quite similar at St. Peter's College, but our fees are dramatically lower, which makes sense because you're not paying for a bus pass and a newspaper and stuff like that. So typically our students will complete years 1 and 2 with less debt, which makes sense because, we have lower student fees and students here double their scholarship pools. So you have additional scholarships. You keep your USAS scholarships, but you also get the St. Peter's College scholarships by coming here. So a lot of our students typically leave here with less debt, which of course you're paying less and making more. Really brief plug on why people choose St. Peter's College and why you probably should choose us. Of course, I'm biased here. We do have small in-person classes. So on average, it's around 16 people. So you get more time with your professor. We do have those additional scholarships, so you'll get less debt out of that. On average, for all the applicants we have, they get $1,800. We don't know why so many of our students never apply for our scholarships. You really should, because there's a lot of money there. Like I said, you keep your USAS scholarships as well. There's a really friendly environment here. So our students really feel supported. There's always someone to help you every step of the way. It's not a robot. It's not someone saying press one to talk to this person. It's a person helping you out. Our students have really said that they feel like they transitioned well into university by starting at St. Peter's College, which, I mean, if you're in a smaller place with less debt, and people know who you are, yeah, you're probably going to feel more supported. Of course, you're probably going to feel like you're succeeding academically, and we do find that we have very low dropout rates when we compare this to the rest of the province and the rest of the country. You can spend your first year here for quite a few programs. We offer 70 plus programs, so it's very customizable, whether you're starting with Edwards or starting with something else or pre-law or whatever it might be. And if you're doing Edwards specifically and pre-law specifically, you can get up to 2 years here, with just some tweaks to your schedule. I'll come back to this in a sec. This is the way to contact us. Before I do that, because I know I'm running out of time here, we do have an open house on November 21st. Registration's extremely limited. It is an in-person open house, so you must register early to make sure your seat is reserved. It is completely dependent on the COVID-19 restrictions. So if we reach that cap of right now, it's 30 people. If we reach that cap, you can't come. We'll happily give you a tour following the COVID guidelines another day, but we're restricted there in the number of people we can have. You can register for that on our website, stpeterscollege.ca. That said, if you do have any questions, I am available right now through that phone number that you see in front of you. So feel free to just call that right now if you want, and I'll pick up the phone. Elsewise, you can email us, you can go to our website, you can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and other, or honestly, just call ahead to the college and we'd happily give you a tour. We'll throw a t-shirt your way as well. If you have any questions, like I said, you can type in the chat right now. I will be monitoring that, or you can call that number. But I thank you guys for attending our session. Have yourselves a good one.